What's on, ladies and gentlemen? My name's Ross, I like games, and today we need to talk about the first ever cards being banned from Disney Lorcana. Hiram Flaversham and Fortisphere are done. They're going away, ladies and gentlemen, and they ain't coming back. And these are the first actual bans in Disney Lorcana that we've ever seen. Yes, I am well aware that a while ago we had an errata to Bucky, and if we compare new Bucky to old Bucky, it's as good as a ban. Old Bucky was one of the most broken cards we'd ever seen, and new Bucky, I'm not saying it's not turned up in a deck list as doing well. I am saying that I obsessively look at Lorcana deck lists all the time to try and keep as on top of the metagames as I possibly can, and I've not seen it in a deck list since the errata. Of course, when it comes to Bucky, they changed a lot. They turned it into a 3 cost rather than a 2 cost. They took away Ward, and instead of activating when you played a Floodborn character, the discard skill activates now when you used Shift to play a Floodborn character. Very different card, very much nerfed. But with Hiram Flaversham and Fortisphere here, no mucking about. They are just gone. And they are now banned from tournament play. Obviously, they're only banned from tournament play. They're not banned. If you want to play at home with your friends or play at locals and it's not for any prize or anything, it's not a set championship or anything, yeah, go ahead, obviously. That's absolutely fine. But if it is a set championship or a Disney Lorcana challenge or something bigger, I'm afraid these cards aren't going to be legal. And essentially, it just comes back to what we've all known for a while at this stage. Sapphire is too good. I mean, if we go to ink decks for a minute, I like ink decks. It's a good way of having a look at where the metagame is right now. No, it's not perfect, but it's my favorite site for, I think, the best site for just looking up what the metagame looks like right now. And if we have a look at the last month, the top deck is Popsicles, Ruby, Sapphire. The second biggest deck is Items, Steel, Sapphire. The third biggest deck is Aggro, Sapphire, Steel. And if we add them all up together, we get 50% of the meta. Like 49 if you want to be pedantic, but basically we're talking about like 50% of the meta is Sapphire decks right now. That doesn't mean Sapphire's decks are unassailable, and it doesn't mean that they cannot be beaten, but it does mean that they are by far and away, Sapphire is the best ink right now in the game. I think that's pretty obvious. Sapphire is a little bit of a problem. And when it comes to looking at the ban, Hiram Flaversham is honestly pretty obvious. This is one of the most broken cards we've got in Disney Lorcana, and it is, as far as I'm concerned, the best draw engine in Disney Lorcana. Like, it's got a skill whereby when you play it, you can banish an item to draw 2 cards. And whenever you quest, you can banish it to draw 2 cards. That's a ridiculous combination. You basically play a bunch of item cards, many of which are 1-cost item cards, and then you continually banish them to give yourself a ridiculous draw engine. And round we go. So, yeah, this makes perfect sense. Getting rid of this, getting rid of Sapphire's draw engine, because here's the thing, right? I showed you the metagame a second ago, but it's important to know, if you look at Popsicle decks, as a bit of an example, you are going to find that they play for Hiram Flaversham. And if you look at these Sapphire Steel item decks, they're going to play for Hiram Flaversham. And if you look at these more aggro decks, they're actually not always playing Hiram Flaversham. No, only joking. Sometimes they only play free. They're playing Hiram Flaversham. It's the most ridiculous draw engine in the game. Obviously, you're going to be playing it. So the ban of this honestly makes sense. If someone had told me a ban was coming down today, and I had to guess which cards were being banned, and actually somebody did ask me a couple of weeks ago if I think any cards are going to be banned and what they would be, Hiram Flaversham's answer number 1. No question, no argument, this was the card most likely to be banned, because yes, Sapphire decks are amazing, no argument there, but by the same token, this is the draw engine. This is what makes the deck so gosh darn good. You add that all up together, this is the card that had to go. Nice. Well, not nice, but you know what I mean. This had to be done. So what about Fortisphere then? Did this one have to go? And this one's a bit more awkward. Because if I ask anyone to tell me what the most busted item card to use in Sapphire is, they aren't telling me Fortisphere. I mean, partly it's a steel card, but you know, Sapphire Steel's very good right now. They're saying Porpsicle. Porpsicle is the hands down best item in Sapphire right now. As always, if you disagree with me, let me know in the comment section. But as far as I'm concerned, the best item, the most problematic item, is Porpsicle. So if you had to ask me to guess, I would tell you Porpsicle would go and be banned. That would honestly be my number 2 card after Hiram Flaversham. If I'm thinking about what to ban right now, it would be Porpsicle. So why does Fortisphere get hit, but Porpsicle doesn't get hit? In what world does that make sense? Well, we did actually have a statement from Steve Warner, who is, of course, one of the designers of the game. And when they talked about this, they basically said Fortisphere was banned because we feel it placed too much emphasis on players using items in steel, which is not aligned with the Ink's core strengths. Rather than fostering strategic depth and diverse gameplay, playing these cards together often led to predictable and one-sided outcomes. We did also discuss and consider banning Porpsicle. We believe that Porpsicle without Hiram Flaversham Toymaker still provides value to decks attempting a more item-based strategy. This is in line with what we felt Sapphire should do, and thus the reason for removing Fortisphere while leaving Porpsicle eligible. Now this was my first thought when I saw the ban. Because here's the deal, right? If you get rid of Hiram Flaversham and you hit Porpsicle, that wrecks Sapphire item decks. These item-based Sapphire decks, which let's face it, are most of what we see in Sapphire, they are done if you get rid of the pair of those cards. And I'm not saying they're completely unplayable or completely gone. I'm saying you've taken away the best item and the draw engine / best card at using these items. You add that all together and that's quite a downside. That hits Sapphire decks too hard. But if you have a look at Sapphire Steel decks right now, and bearing in mind what Steve said in his statement about the fact that, you know, this isn't really what Steel is designed to do, if you have a look at Sapphire Steel decks, what are the 2 items they're playing? Well, they're playing Porpsicle primarily, and then generally speaking, the second item out, that's going to be Fortisphere. And you still want Porpsicle first and foremost, let's be perfectly clear, but then after Porpsicle, Fortisphere is going to be your thing. Although to be fair, they are both very similar in terms of they draw a card when you play it, but Fortisphere and Porpsicle both drawing cards, bit of an issue. So that's what you do. You get rid of Fortisphere, you still have Porpsicle, you've still got an item that draws cards, but Sapphire Steel gets hit a lot harder, trying to align that with what was more intended, while also weakening Sapphire without completely killing it, because you still have Porpsicle. Make no mistake about it, Sapphire got a gigantic nerf today, and yeah, I know that Fortisphere isn't a Sapphire card, but the next best Steel deck after Sapphire Steel is Amethyst Steel, what people often refer to as Bounce, doesn't play Fortisphere. And then of course we've got Steel Song, which is your Amethyst Amber. Anyone want to take a guess if they play Fortisphere? They don't, if anybody's wondering. And again, I'm not saying none of them do. I'm not saying we've never seen that card in a Steel Song deck. I'm saying that as a general rule, that is not what you would look at and consider to be a staple or a must-play card. So Sapphire Steel took a gigantic hit today. Sapphire generally took a bit of a hit, and certainly Hiram going away is a problem. But what's going to be the consequence of this? Well, we're going to need a bunch of tournaments to really figure it out. By the way, this is April the 8th. That is, as of today, this comes in. So, what are we actually going to see? Well, if people are to be believed, Emerald discard decks. That is what people are largely expecting we're going to be seeing here. Essentially, Diablo running Riot, because, of course, Diablo now has no real competition when it comes to the best draw engine. This is another pretty good draw engine. But then, of course, you've got all of the discard in Emerald as well. Things like Prince John, greediest of all. And then, of course, if you're taking away the best draw engine that isn't in your deck, well, that's going to make discard a lot better now, isn't it? So what people are suggesting, and I think this is incredibly fair, get used to seeing a lot of Emerald discard decks, Diablo and all of that. I know Diablo doesn't discard Diablo draws, but then you play all the other discard cards, and my point is, that's what people are expecting moving forward. What we know for now, this is big. The first cards that ever got banned, and I think we're in two minds here. People seem to think along the same basic kind of lines here, which is on the one hand, we kind of understand why these bans came down, but I'm seeing a lot of people that are just assuming Emerald is going to start taking over now with Sapphire nerfed. Are we going to see an unintended consequence of boosting up another deck too high? I don't know. Good news is there's going to be a lot of tournaments, and we're going to find out. For now, I want to know what you think about this ban, so let me know in the comment section. Go nuts! Be nice! And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at the Wasi. That's where we talk about Disney Lorcana and a whole bunch of other card games. And please do consider checking out patreon.com/PTCG Radio, where you can support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all kinds of fun things. But by far the most important thing is always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching Wasi Plays.